Are you overwhelmed by the never-ending supply of depressing bad news? Well, let's refuel our tanks with 7 recent positive stories. This is Giddy News for the month of June 2023. Experimental pill sees cancer vanish entirely in a third of acute leukemia patients, is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of Imane El Attila with Euronews, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. Revumenib is a new class of targeted therapy for acute leukemia that inhibits a specific protein called menin. The drug works by reprogramming leukemia cells back into normal cells. More than half of the patients enrolled in an early clinical trial responded positively to the drug, and 1/3 had a complete remission with no cancer detectable in their blood. All patients previously had seen their leukemia return after other treatments or had never responded well to traditional chemotherapy drugs in the first place. Among them was a 23-year-old Lithuanian architect whose doctors had even considered palliative care to ease her suffering. She stated, "I was desperate. It was like living through a horrible movie. I felt like death was imminent, and I was just 21 years old." However, once she started taking revumenib 2 years ago, she made a full recovery. Since then, she has been able to resume her normal life, graduating from college and working at an architecture studio. Study co-authored Dr. Gaius Issa, a leukemia physician at the MD Anderson Cancer Center at the University of Texas, stated, "This is definitely a breakthrough, and it's a result of years of science." Greece makes hundreds of beaches wheelchair-friendly, is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of Tassos Kokkinidis with the Greek Reporter, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. Greece is making hundreds of beaches wheelchair-friendly by installing the Greek-designed C-Track system for wheelchairs. The system is a free service that offers unassisted sea access to people with disabilities and mobility issues. It's described as an innovative technological assistant that promotes autonomy, quality, and wellness in everyday life. Tourism Minister Vasilis Kakilias stated, "Equal access to the sea is an inalienable human right." He continued by stating that people with disabilities and people with limited mobility will be given the opportunity to participate in healthy beach activities with family and friends, enhancing the quality of life for everyone. Further, fully accessible beaches contribute to the development of the local economy by attracting visitors with disabilities or those with limited mobility such as elderly people, pregnant women, and people with temporary injuries. 74-year-old musician Otis Taylor gets Denver High School diploma decades after being expelled for his hair, is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of Tori Mason with CBS News, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. A musician who was expelled from a Denver high school over 50 years ago has received his diploma. Otis Taylor was kicked out of Manual High School in 1966 because of his hair. This was decades before laws ending racial hair discrimination. Otis Taylor remembers loving shop and art class and being on the gymnastics team, but he doesn't remember much about the day that he was expelled. Taylor, who was 17 at the time, stated that the whole school district was coming down on people who didn't look how they wanted you to look, and the administrators gave him an ultimatum: cut his hair or leave. Taylor did not cut his hair. He says his mom was upset and his dad was livid. After Taylor was expelled, he went to California to live with his father. In the time since, he became an award-winning musician who's played on over a dozen blues albums, and now Manual High School has righted a wrong by granting Taylor a diploma. When asked if he wonders if life would be different had he cut his hair, Taylor stated, "My kids went to college, my wife loves me, and we've been married for 37 years. How can I regret?" Taiwan amends law to allow same-sex couples to adopt, is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of Jono Thompson with Taiwan News, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. 4 years after Taiwan legalized same-sex marriage, the legislature has now passed an amendment to the law allowing same-sex couples to legally adopt children. The change makes the process of adoption for those married to same-sex partners the same as for any other couple under Taiwan's existing laws. New Power Party legislator Claire Wang said that what is most important is that parents love and respect their children, and gender and sexuality should have no bearing on whether or not a parent is suitable for adoption or not. The Taiwan Alliance to Promote Civil Partnership Rights said the outcome was the result of a long-standing initiative by advocacy and human rights groups, gay people, and gay parents. The group released the following statement. This success once again proves that Taiwan's social consensus is to protect the human rights of LGBTI people and promote gender equality. In the future, we will continue to work towards equal rights based on this consensus. Researchers treat depression by reversing brain signals traveling the wrong way, is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of Nina Bai with Stanford Medicine, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. Powerful magnetic pulses applied to the scalp to stimulate the brain can bring fast relief to many severely depressed patients for whom standard treatments have failed. Research led by Stanford Medicine scientists has found that the transcranial magnetic stimulation, aka TMS, treatment works by reversing the direction of abnormal brain signals. The FDA-cleared treatment known as Stanford Neuromodulation Therapy incorporates advanced imaging technologies to guide stimulation with high-dose patterns of magnetic pulses that can modify brain activity related to major depression. The researchers recruited 33 patients who had been diagnosed with treatment-resistant major depressive disorder. They compared data from these patients with that of 85 healthy controls without depression. When they analyzed data across the entire brain, one connection stood out. In the normal brain, the anterior insula, a region that integrates bodily sensations, sends signals to a region that governs emotions, the anterior cingulate cortex. In 3/4 of the participants with depression, however, the typical flow of activity was reversed. The more severe the depression, the higher the proportion of signals that traveled the wrong way. Those with the most severe depression and the most misdirected brain signals were the most likely to benefit from the treatment. Indigenous-led bison repopulation projects are helping the animal thrive again in Alberta, is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of Muhammad Rashini with CBC, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. There was a point in time when as many as 60 million bison roamed the North American Great Plains, a flatland region that includes Alberta, Saskatchewan, and several U.S. states. But due in large part to the overhunting of bison, their numbers dropped so much that plains bison no longer existed in Canada by the 1900s, and the population of wood bison were as low as 200. Violet McGuinness, consultation director for the Tsuut'ina Nation, stated, "We used to follow the buffalo. Wherever it roamed, we followed it. We got everything off the buffalo. Then the newcomers came, the treaties were signed, and we were put on little tracts of land where we could not follow the buffalo." However, for the past 40 years, the Tsuut'ina Nation members have taken care of a buffalo herd located in the middle of their community. Each November, the herd is rounded up to be weighed, dewormed, vaccinated, and tagged. And in recent years, indigenous peoples like the Tsuut'ina Nation have started several bison reintroduction projects. The Tsuut'ina Nation is also helping other indigenous groups, such as the Onion Lake Cree Nation in Saskatchewan, to reintroduce bison to their lands. McGuinness said, "It's fulfilling because our spirituality is so dependent on our connection with the land and the animals. It makes us whole again." An Arizona plant will pull CO2 from the air and trap it in concrete, is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of Maria Gallucci with Canary Media, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. For the last 2 centuries, nearly all the concrete used in buildings, bridges, dams, and roads has been held together with one key ingredient, Portland cement. This limestone and clay fusion is inexpensive, but also is extremely carbon-intensive to produce. However, startups and established construction firms recently have begun devising lower carbon ways of making the world's most widely used building material. Blocklight, a family-owned masonry business, announced plans to produce concrete by combining Carbon-Built's alternative cement process with direct air capture technology by air capture that removes carbon dioxide from the sky. These 3 partners received a grant from the Four Corners Carbon Coalition, a network of local governments in Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. Additionally, the Blocklight initiative isn't the only effort to pair CO2 harnessing technologies with concrete production. Heirloom uses limestone slabs to absorb CO2 from the ambient air, then crushes it in a kiln and separates the gas from waste rock. Meanwhile, Carbon Cure injects CO2 into wastewater that has been used to clean out concrete trucks, producing a mineral that strengthens concrete. Recently, these two companies successfully combined their technologies in a demonstration in California. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Giddy News. And if you have a positive news story that you'd like for me to share, please include a link in the comments down below. And until next time, take care of yourself, and thanks for watching.